Good morning, Year 4, and welcome to our final English lesson that we are going to be finishing off writing our leadership story this morning. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen with you. Okay, so it is Monday the 25th of January and our learning objective today is to write the final paragraph of a story. So if you can pause the video now and write today's date and learning objective and underline these ready for the lesson. Okay, so can you start by reviewing your work from last week? So on Thursday, you wrote your plot point 3 paragraph. So I want you to reread that paragraph to remind yourself of what you wrote and purple polish your writing. So have a look for anything that you may have missed last week, any spelling mistakes you think you may need to check, or have you got the correct punctuation in your paragraph, starting with capital letters and full stops? Look for those commas that you may be missing in your complex sentences if it starts with a subordinate conjunction and the subordinate clause starts at the beginning of the sentence. So have a look for all of those things. You may even find some vocabulary that you want to edit and improve in this time. So pause the video whilst you do that. Okay, so today we are writing the very final plot point in our leadership story. So this is the part of the story where the team will follow the instructions of the leader and the threat will be avoided. So your story will either be based on the animation of the cunning crabs that we've been looking at, or you may have chosen your own characters for your story. So you may have innovated your story by changing the characters. So I want you to think about what orders your leader in your story give to the other animals today and how they avoid that threat of the predator. So ultimately, the story will end by teamwork saves the day. So it's going to be a positive ending. So you will have plotted your graph to think that this is going to be a positive end to your story. So let's remind ourselves one last time of that animation, just so we've got it really clear in our head and we know exactly which part, how the story finishes and how we're going to be writing the end of our story today. I can't seem to. Just bear with me. Just think about how you think this part of the story ends. Just going to get it to the right point. Okay. Here's the threat of the seagull circling. Orders being given. Okay, so let's remind ourselves of what we're looking for in your story. So your innovative story, we're writing it to entertain, and this is going to be myself and Mrs. Anderson who are going to be reading your story. So all the features that we've been looking at in our writing over the last couple of weeks, this is your chance to really prove that you can use these skills. So we're looking for those wonderful noun phrases to describe what you can see, what you might be able to hear, what you might be able to touch. So all of those noun phrases that you can use in your writing to make it more exciting. Prepositional phrases. Okay, so we're looking for words that describe the position of perhaps the characters in your story, how they're moving. Complex sentences, so really think about how you can challenge yourself by using lots of fantastic complex sentences in your writing. The fronted adverbials, how you can start your sentence using a fronted adverbial, and then really think about making sure you've got the basic punctuation and capital letters in your writing to make sure that it is up to Year 4 standard. And then lastly, think about using really precise verbs, those doing words and adverbs to modify the verbs. Okay, so let's just think about looking at your plan to start you off. So look at your plan that you wrote last week for plot point 4. You may want that in front of you to maybe add a few more ideas to this, but remind yourself about the words that you're intending to use in your writing today. That's really important that you use this plan to help you with your writing. And think about what grammar features you want to use in this final paragraph today. Let's read last week's models again to help us with today's today's writing. So you can either pause the video and have a read yourself, and I'm going to read it through as well, so you could follow with me. So our penguin story that we looked at last week. With an urgent shout, the penguin ordered the colony to work together. Shuffling steadily towards the edge of the ice, they tilted the great ice mountain towards the watery depths of the ocean. Just as the Finn giant was about to gorge on this delicious feast, his enormous jaw smacked into an icy wall, and his breakfast dreams sank with him. Okay, so that's our penguin modelled story from last week. And then we have the story of the ant. So I'll read this final paragraph of the ant story as well. So as the queen ant had cleverly anticipated, the giant ant ball began to roll closer towards the sucking giant. Faster and faster it rolled until the sphere had blocked the giant's mighty mouth. Toppling onto the dusty floor, the enormous creature passed out on the ground. So you might find that there are some words in here that you want to magpie. So if there's any words that you want to have a go at magpieing, write them onto your plan now. Or if there's any great sentence starters that you think you could use in your writing, maybe magpie those and add them onto your planning. Okay, so we're going to just collect ideas for your paragraphs now. So if you've decided to base your story on the cunning crab animation, the crabs are about to take action and carry out the orders that have been set by their leader. So have your plans in front of you in case you want to add some of these ideas onto your plans. If you've chosen to use the helper sheet today, then you might want that out in front of you as well, because you can add some ideas onto the helper sheet to get you started with your writing. So I'm thinking about this into 3 chunks really. So you might start your paragraph, your final paragraph today, by thinking about a front adverbial to describe the manner of how the crabs are working together. So how do those crabs work together to carry out the orders that have been set by their leader? So some ideas to help you maybe start your sentences, you might use words like working in unison or standing in a tight formation. So those are some ideas that I came up with. And then perhaps for the second part of this chunk, you might think about describing in detail the action of the crabs from the orders given by their leader. So maybe they've got their weapons hovering high above them, and they've got their piercing pincers ready to stop that menacing seagull. They are about to seize and subdue their predator. So think about some ideas there that you might want to use in your writing. Or if you've chosen a different animal to write about, think about some good vocabulary that you can use to describe how your animal takes action given by their leader. Okay, so if you've got some ideas added to your plan, great. So let's think about the next part of this paragraph. So the next part of the paragraph, you're thinking about how that seagull, suddenly the seagull spots the cunning crabs, their pincers, they're holding high in the sky, and I think the seagull suddenly has a change of heart. He no longer wants to be diving down towards that trap that he's about to go into. So perhaps in this chunk you might write a complex sentence to describe the seagull's response to the crabs. I've got an idea of how you could start your sentence there if you want to use this, or you can have a go at using your own. So I've started with a subordinate conjunction here. So I wrote, as the seagull spotted the cunning crab's piercing pincers, and then I would finish that sentence by saying what happens as the seagull spots those pincers from the crabs. So if you want to add some of those ideas onto your plan now, you can. And there's just a reminder at the top there of all the subordinating conjunctions that you might use to start your sentence. And then chunk 3, the final, very final part of your story now in this paragraph, I would describe the action of the seagull and the success of the crab's actions. So I've just got a few words there that I might use in my writing, and you can magpie some of these ideas or write down some of your own. So I'm thinking about how the seagulls colliding or thumping or smashing or crashing into those crabs, and how the plan has been a success. The crabs are triumphant and have accomplished their plan and fought off their predator. So add some words there onto your plan if you need to give you some great ideas. Okay, so it's your turn now to write your final paragraph. So remember to use that plan to really help you, and keep reading your work back to check it makes sense. Make sure you've got all those wonderful grammar features that we've been looking at in your writing. And I really look forward to reading your very final paragraph. So pause the video now while you have a go at writing that final paragraph. Brilliant, Year 4. So you have finished writing your story. So today, I don't want you just to review your final paragraph. I want you to actually read back through your story from start to finish. Really important, if you read your story through from the start to finish, just to check that it all makes sense. Check that you have told your story as well as you possibly can. And then you might want to think about reviewing and editing your final story. Okay, so use what we are our key features here to make sure that you have included them. And then if you want to, you could now take the opportunity to publish your story. So if you want to write it up in best, you can. Now this is just an option, you don't have to, because we've been reading your paragraphs each day. But if you want to write it up, you can, or if you want to type it up, you can, and post it on Dojo. And then perhaps I can share a few. I'll pick a few that we can share in our Zoom checkouts later on today. But I really look forward to reading your stories. You've worked really, really hard on these. So well done to you all. And I can't wait to read them all. So well done, Year 4.